Okay, welcome to Crownsman Ag. We have a part two coming for you, Monarch Tractor. If you saw the first episode, it was absolutely fantastic. Just a ton of good information. But now we have Mark Schwager on. He is the co-founder and president, and we're going to be talking about actually some of his background in the electric car industry, implementing manufacturing systems, just a whole and the development of the company. Just we're going to cover so much. So thank you for joining us, Mark. Good to have you on the show. Glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to talk to you today about Monarch.
Let's kick it off with just your your role in the company, but just sort of the day to day over the last couple of years, getting things rolling to where you have, which has been quite impressive, I have to say.
Thank you very much. So, my day to day is very much built on the operational side of the business. So, how do we produce tractors? How do we procure the materials? In addition to many of the operational things like legal and finance and all the stuff that makes the company run. But my focus is very much on how do we build product? How do we build it well with high quality? And how do we build it at compelling cost for the customer? So I would say my team is probably the largest at Monarch just because of the full breadth that we have to do. But at the same time, the skill sets are so varied across all of the things that actually make a hardware product come together.
Mhm.
Um, that combined with the digital product makes it a really, really compelling opportunity from a manufacturing basis where you not only have to build the product, but you have to bring it to life. And that's one of the special things about a converged product, which Monarch is making, a hardware and software combined product that brings in manufacturing processes that exist in the physical world as well as the digital world, making this a really special opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. And I just have to ask the finance and the legal side of things. I mean, I know Monarch had a big round of funding that just came in. Is does that take up a lot of the time, or are you able to focus a lot on systems and processes and refining the business?
It very much ebbs and flows. When there's something big going on, when we're working on a big contract or when we're working on a piece of financing, it tends to take over, at least in terms of the majority of the time. But you still have to keep up the process and the pressure on getting the job done for building tractors. So it very much depends on exactly what's going on.
It's nice having you, and it's so quickly having a part two, and the first time you're being on the show, is that we can sort of, we've kind of given a lot of the overview of Monarch. But can we start at the beginning a little bit with you, some of your background, because it really defines the role you're in now. And so I think we should start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my entire career has been in manufacturing and supply chain. I've never worked in a different field. It hasn't always been in electric vehicles. I cut my teeth in straight out of college in a manufacturing environment where I was making custom architectural hardware,
Mm.
which is a fancy name for doorknobs and hinges that are sold to high-end residential projects. I got the good fortune to be running a factory for the first time at the age of 22
Wow.
in Brooklyn, New York, and then in Long Island, where we were producing these products at extremely high quality and an incredible mix of products. It was a great learning opportunity, but I saw it as really a technological shift from manufacturing the old way into implementing systems that could actually run much of the manufacturing processes and much of the operations management processes as well. So that was a really special time for me. Then, when the recession hit in 2008, I went to business school. And when I came out of business school, I got I learned about a tiny little company in Palo Alto trying to make electric cars. So got the opportunity to join Tesla at a pretty young age for the company. And that was truly special for me.
Um, I definitely have some questions to ask about Tesla, but before that, so you got to see that sort of, did you get to see in the doors and the hinges? Did you get to see the automation in manufacturing and that sort of develop as well there first?
Absolutely. Saw the CNC machinery and how to make the intricate designs that we were producing. And I think much of it was on the system side. It was very much a job shop when I got there, and it was a very automated factory from a process standpoint when I left. And that was the great opportunity to blend old school manufacturing with new school techniques.
For today's sponsors, we have Verge Ag. Verge software Launchpad helps farmers plan, simulate, and improve the movement of equipment in their fields. What does this mean for farmers? By using Launchpad to ensure equipment is at the right place at the right time and moves logically, it is more efficient and effective, reducing time spent in the field, input costs, soil compaction, and operator error. Path plans are exported directly to monitors already installed in the equipment. For more information about Launchpad, visit vergeegg.com, or you can also email them info@vergeegg.com or give them a call at 1-888-408-3743. Next up, we also have Edge Eyewear. Edge designs stylish, quality, and affordable safety eyewear that's as fit for the weekend as the workday. Edge safety glasses and sunglasses are ANSI and CSA compliant, come ready with modern technology, and are comfortable enough to meet the unique requirements of those in the agriculture industry. And of course, they've been delivering a better safety glass since 1998. You can visit edgeeyewear.com to learn more and save 20% with code CROWN20. Next up, we also have Zero Knox. Zero Knox is a global leader in electrical powertrain solutions, microgrids, and clean technology. They provide a platform for clean energy technology to come to market through powertrain solutions, development partnerships, and electrification kit solutions for conversions, all powered by Zero Knox. Their mission is to empower communities through sustainable innovation as they partner with some of the world's leading OEMs to solve challenges across multiple continents with cleaner and higher performing technology, empowering a clean, innovative, and higher performing future without compromise. Learn more at zeronox.com. And last but not least, we have SolarSet. Introducing the SolarSet Fold, the new foldable frame solar system brings power to your residential and commercial property and can also be shipped worldwide. Like all SolarSet products, the SolarSet Fold comes turnkey, pre-assembled, and is easily transported and installed. You can learn more about the SolarSet Fold and their full line of amazing solar systems at solarset.com.
Then you go to business school. Now, this is a very interesting thing because you definitely hear there's more of talk about it, that get some real world experience, then go to school, then transition back into the real world. Um, would you advise that as a good? What I don't know if you planned that out, but did it end up being a good strategy for you?
I didn't plan it out. My career is very. It hasn't always been the straightest path. I didn't always know that I was going to do that. But for me, I thought it was incredibly valuable to have work experience prior to business school because you have something to reflect on.
Mm.
One of the best parts of business school for me was I went and implemented all these things on a factory floor to make operations run more smoothly with higher efficiency and less loss. But I had no idea what I was doing. Then I went and learned the theory afterwards. How do you actually do this? How do you implement it in reality? And I thought that was really valuable. Some things I did that were right. Some things that I did were very very wrong for overall efficiency. But business school helped really bring some reality to all of those things on what to take and what to leave behind in the next experience.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then you end up at Tesla. I mean, people's ears just perk up, no matter how you feel about Tesla. I mean, it is a force to be reckoned with, to say the least. What was that experience? What was your role within the company, first off?
So I came as a business school intern when it was just a couple hundred people, and my first role there was to optimize the lines that they had at the time, which were the Roadster battery line and what we called the Metro, which was the battery for the Smart 42 electric vehicle. And so my job was to increase the output of those lines over my summer internship. That was a great way to really learn electrification technology and apply the skills that I had gained at business school and of course, before business school to a very, very new manufacturing process in a really new environment with an upstart company that actually, when I was an intern, they had not yet gone public. So it was all
Oh,
the way
they,
back
oh,
then.
before even then. Okay, wow.
And actually, they went public at the end of my summer internship, so late on that summer. And then I went back to school, finished up, and I knew that there was only one place I wanted to work when I came out of business school. So um, Tesla made me wait until May to give me a formal offer to come back, but I came back nonetheless. My first role when I came back was to lead from an NPI standpoint. NPI stands for New Product Introduction, which is the program management of the production phase of a program. So basically, taking the engineering project into a production project. And I did this for the Toyota RAV4 EV, which is actually produced from the vehicle side in Canada. So I got to go to TMMC in, I believe, forgetting the name. It was the London airport that I flew into in Canada, but the vehicle was actually produced there in the plant where they make the Rav4s and the RX for Lexus.
So sorry, I missed a section there. Did they so that was connected to Tesla was the one that was their battery, or was their system being implemented into that vehicle?
Yeah, I zoomed through that. I apologize for that. It was a Tesla battery, and it was also a Tesla drive unit. So
Okay.
the propulsion system, the motor, the gearbox, and the drive inverter, as well as the battery and the charger, were all Tesla products that went into 2600 RAV4 EVs. So Tesla produced all of those powertrain components, and then they were installed into the RAV4s on the same production line where they produced the flat fours and the V6s.
I see. You know, I mean, I don't know, maybe since Steve Jobs, I mean, s- Elon is probably, I mean, maybe even in some ways more famous now. Is there a takeaway? Swing this. We're going to dig into Monarch here in a moment. What are some main, either from a technical standpoint, from a business development standpoint, from a market entry? Is there something that you, or several things that you take away from working with a company that started at one level and then, I mean, ended up in the stratosphere?
Absolutely. I think I've taken so much from that experience. And a lot of people, when they come out of Tesla, they may be disgruntled. And I'm so far beyond that at this point. I really look back on my experience at Tesla with such fondness on the experiences that I got, the leadership opportunities that I got, and the fact that I was at a company that has basically changed the paradigm for transportation for just about every type of vehicle. I mean, we're all here. We're all here. Well, we're all here at Monarch, certainly because of Tesla, because they've enabled the entire automotive supply chain to be something that we can leverage for our vehicle. But I guess we'll get to that in a little bit. But I think some of the big lessons that I've learned is I would call it a ruthless attachment to what the product is and what it can do for the end customer. I think that is so important. That's something that Tesla has done just so well. Is they've captured the imagination of the consumer, and they have fundamentally changed the way that the consumer interacts with the vehicle and given them what they want.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that Tesla is just so good at that. I think the second thing from a business process standpoint that Tesla is so good at is speed of innovation into the product.
Yeah.
And everything that Tesla does is about speed of innovation into the product, which is why they're able to maintain their edge over all the other automakers in the world, is because when they think of a good idea, when they validate that good idea, it's in the product like in weeks. At a more entrenched automaker, it would take years to do something like that. and their processes are very much designed towards that speed of innovation into the product. And they take big risks, they validate them, but then they implement them really, really quickly. And they're not afraid to fail. Many, many times we invested in projects at Tesla that failed, and it's okay. It's okay to fail, as long as you come back and correct those problems, and take a big swing on getting it right on the next one. Um, you can't have everything with speed, but speed kills, and it kills your competitors. And that's one of those things that, I think with Monarch, we're really trying to make sure that we harness that spirit of speed of innovation into the product.
Um, Last question on this part. Is that spirit of innovation, that willingness to take risk, how much of that do you think is developed from seeing another company do it, and then even having that work experience, doors and hinges? I mean, I cut my teeth wire brushing pumps, so that you start somewhere. And has it developed, or did you have that sort of in you DNA and it enhanced it?
It's interesting to see where it comes from. I often call it something interesting. It's like working at a startup and working at a company that moves at this pace is like, it's almost like an indoctrination. Once you learn to work at this pace, you can't work at another pace. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like you're making enough progress. And so everybody who comes into this environment gets captured with that intoxication, and they love it because it really feels like you're producing something, you're getting somewhere, you're making incredible progress with every day, every hour that you spend. I've never watched the clock in uh, 16 years of working ever. And it's because I just really enjoy and get off on working in that pace. And when you find a company that meets that pace, and you're finally walking at the same pace or running at the same pace that everybody else is, you feel like you're home and where you're supposed to be. And I think that with my founders, my co-founders here at Monarch, we are all running at the same pace. We found each other, and we built a team aligned with that spirit.
Well, Praveen was, I mean, he, came at it from a different angle, but that, you know, it, when I'm listening to you talk, I'm excited. The entrepreneur side of me it just comes out. And I felt that same thing with Praveen. It's just, there's passion, but it's not just blind passion. It's, this striving for excellence that is sort of coupled to that. And I think that, not for everybody, but for me, there's few things more exciting. Um, Before you go, so now we're almost to starting Monarch. And before, you made one more stop, and that was, I believe, Zooks. Is that how you say it?
Yes, got to do a lot more big projects at Tesla. Got to work on the Gigafactory, but yes, Zoox was my first introduction to automated vehicles as well.
And then you get, so I guess maybe a quick takeaway from that led you to Monarch.
So the most important thing that led me to Monarch from Zoox was meeting Praveen and Zachary, two of my co-founders.
I see.
So at Zoox, the challenge was to bring to market a completely driverless, carriage seating, all electric, autonomous vehicle. And they're on the path to being able to do that today with Amazon, their partner. But the fastest way to get there from my angle was to partner with incredibly talented companies that could help us get there faster. One of them was Motivo Engineering, which is where I met Praveen and Zachary for the first time back in 2015. I hired Motivo Engineering at Zoox to help us put together our first propulsion validation units, which they did in like 90 days, which was just incredibly awesome. They're absolutely spectacular at what they used to do, which was a boutique engineering services company that accelerated the development plans of Silicon Valley startups like Zoox, where I was back then.
So you met those two, and And this is the part that I'm always very interested, because if you've ever done any sort of, if you've taken risk in life, you've got these little forks in the road. It's not even necessarily one's good or bad. It's just you choose to take one that you prefer or think has the most gain to it. What's that moment, let's say the day before, the day of, where you decide, I want to go after, the tractor industry. I'm going to rework the way people think of a tractor.
So yeah, when Praveen and Praveen worked on me for it wasn't a moment. He worked on me for like a year, but he said he had something and he wanted to do this and take a look at the market. And I looked at the market and I realized that it was completely devoid of electrification. There was nobody trying to do it.
Like
Nothing.
like, which is, I didn't even realize how empty the space was until I learned about Monarch. And, it was like, trying to find the comparison and running it's like, okay, well, that was a quick search. Like, there was just nothing.
And that's what I saw as well. And then from my own background, I looked at how do farmers farm? What's the opportunity here? Because he had also convinced me, one, it was an empty space from an electrification standpoint, but he also convinced me that the technology for self-driving cars was now at a point where it could be cost competitive in farm vehicles.
Mm.
And then I looked at that opportunity and I looked at everything that I had come from in manufacturing. And I've had the good fortune of being in manufacturing at a time when automation is everywhere. And I've studied manufacturing, intensely. And I looked at farming and manufacturing together in 1900 and to 1920 was kind of the beginning of mechanization in both. And then you fast forward to 1980, and then there's a divergence when you start introducing automation into manufacturing processes, and you don't have the same thing going into farming processes. So what's happened since 1980 in the United States is that you've had a tripling of manufacturing output because of automation, and you haven't had the same trajectory in farming. They've really diverged, and they've diverged because the technology set is not equivalent between the two. And so I saw a major gap there as well. And we're going to need to be able to make our farms more productive in the same way that we've made our factories, because there's going to be 11 billion people on the planet in like 30 years.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
going to have to feed all those people, and farmland is basically finite. So we have to make it more productive.
The only question that I've kind of wondered, and I this is, I mean, you won't be the first person to get asked a layman question on this show. I guarantee you that. But why the automation, like the Monarch tractor, that you can run 10 of them. One person can run 10 of them. That type of, is the automation technology tied to the electrification technology, or could it be could you run 10 diesel tractors? Is there, I'm not an engineer. I just don't quite know that gap, because it seems like there's so much more automation as soon as you go into electric.
There's a couple of pieces of fundamentals, and anybody who started an automated car company has always done it on a hybrid. And the reason for that is you need a big battery for all of those electronics to balance out the buses. So you really do need a big battery, regardless of whether you do it with a diesel tractor or if you do it with an electric tractor. Fact of the matter is, if you do it on a diesel tractor, you'll end up making the product more expensive, and it'll emit more emissions because essentially you'll have to burn that engine longer and harder in order to power all of those electronics.
Okay, so that's core. Yeah, just sorry, random question that I've been wanting to ask, and I forget to sometimes. So, okay, so you
One other thing. Sorry, I interrupted you there. There's one other thing, which is that diesel equipment is very much mechanically driven. Um, and in order to truly automate the tractor, you've got to not only automate the propulsion system, steering, braking, acceleration, all of those things. You have to also automate the back of the tractor. So the hydraulics, the hitch control, the PTO control. You can only really do that if you make the tractor fully by wire. which really lends itself to being torn up from what it is anyway. You can't really automate all of that mechanically. You really have to have an electrified system to do that.
Yeah, that's very helpful. So you're going to develop this, or you've developed this product. Um, that the manufacturing side of it, that development efficiency, I mean, that must have been key. And this is it's a level I haven't worked at. So I'm going to hand it over to you to sort of walk us through. We spent a lot of time with Praveen talking about it, the tractor in the field. Really did a nice job of unpacking that. But that sort of behind the scenes part, can you walk us through that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we think about manufacturing, a lot of us think about automotive manufacturing with fixed conveyance and lots of robots and things like that. All of that is really volume driven. You have to have a return on investment that really justifies those sort of investments into that kind of automation. In tractors, we don't have those sort of volumes. So the biggest tractor program in the world is, probably an order of magnitude less than even a medium-sized car program. So we have a very different approach. Our approach is very much how do we design the tractor so that it can be very easily manufactured and serviced in very manual processes, because the automation just won't pay for itself. So that doesn't mean not automating our way around non-value added processes, which are things that the customer doesn't care about. So how we move the tractors around from place to place. But for value added, the automation doesn't really make sense. So we very much optimize for a manual process. And by the way, many of the processes that Toyota employs on its production lines are in fact manual. There's very, very little automation on Toyota's production lines. They're very, very process oriented, which is one of the things I really loved about learning from them. So I've taken the Toyota learning and the Toyota way into the manufacturing process here, which is an incredible focus on quality and ease of manufacturing process, but again, very manual. And that way we can focus on real value add rather than fancy automation.
Again, layman, but the thing that comes to my mind right away is, oh, that's probably why Toyotas don't rattle.
Highest quality producer in the world. There's a reason that everybody's adopted Toyota systems, is because they're really, really good at it.
And what is that difference though? Why is it because there's a hands-on approach? Is it because those systems, I mean, it seems like they'd be a little more variable with when it's not automated, but then is there more touch points, so more quality control? What are some of the reasons?
It's building the quality into the process that Toyota really excels at. Everything that the operators do, everything that they touch, is very much a quality control process as part of the process. So quality and process basically run together, and that's our approach as well.
So can we now take a look at sort of that mixing the manufacturer, but now it's going on into the field? Can you, I guess, start with in a way, what is a tractor? What is the tractor of yesterday? What is your tractor?
So I think about farms in a really simple way, and back to when Praveen first started talking to me about this, um, I was like, "What is a farm anyway?" A farm is a factory for food, but we didn't have a manufacturing approach, and we didn't have manufacturing technologies in farms. And I see that as a great opportunity for Monarch, and I see Monarch as that automated robot that you see in factories all the time that can enable the sort of manufacturing approach that we can potentially bring to farms. It is that merging of that physical thing that actually adds value, at the same time also collects data on what that process is doing to the end product. In our case, that digital tool is that camera or that data collection device, which is collecting all of the farm data, all of the crop data, and then producing those insights for farmers that they wouldn't be able to tell on a person observing, at least not in the same way where you have that kind of very, very detailed, very robust data collection. It's that sort of data collection that we have in factories today that actually tell us everything possible about how that product is made. We
Mhm.
need to do the same for farming because the end customer, you and me, we care about where our food comes from today much more than we did 30 years ago. I often tell people in my orientations, how many different types of milk do you see at the supermarket? Anybody who has kids knows that there's like 40 kinds of milk. It's on the farmer to be able to communicate that message to the end customer, that you're actually buying the 2% organic grass fed milk, rather than some other kind of milk. And only through data collection can we actually prove to the end customer that they should pay a higher price for this grass-fed, organic, pasteurized milk, than the conventional milk. Um, and the burden of proof is on the farmer, and we have to help them tell that story to the end customer because the intermediaries that pass that milk through won't be able to do that. And yes, we do see our tractor in dairies.
I was thinking it would be one of these days you're going to have someone they're going to want to do a live stream with your tractor, and then people are going to be going through the market actually seeing the tractor live, getting the getting their food ready.
Oh, absolutely. The vision is, you scan a QR code on a bag of, carrots, and you can see exactly how those carrots have been grown at the farm.
Yeah. Is it I was curious about that from a design standpoint, the the energy that's being used is it a big pull on that battery power that the energy of collecting data, the sensors and the self-driving and all these types of things. How much energy does that pull in comparison to just the actual movement of the tractor itself?
That's one of the things that our team is just incredibly good at. When I was first starting at Zoox, the automation systems and the sensory systems consumed like, I don't know, 7 kilowatts of power, which is like insane. Today, at Monarch, we are, um, I would say, of the battery power consumed, and this is the rule that our team lives by. 90% is implement and hydraulics, 9% is mobility, and 1% is the sensory and compute systems.
Really? That low? Okay, wow. Is it I mean, how difficult was I mean, you had the background, so you would have seen you would have I guess I'm going on the assumption, you would have known it was possible. But how difficult was it to actually make this tractor? Which is something that's just amazing to me. Everything that we do here is all built off of somebody else. Every technology we use, and we kind of develop our own production systems from that. You've actually built a tractor. It's just a different thing. Um, what was that process to actually the manufacturing, the technology, the distribution? I mean, not even going to the distribution, just getting it to be able to drive through a field and do what you needed to do.
No, it's very much. I guess in short, it was super challenging, but bringing the right people here to do it has been our saving grace because we have a just a truly fantastic team, all of the right skill sets, all of the right people to be able to do this. I think my favorite quote from a journalist is a team purpose built for this mission, brought together by fate. I love the way that person conveyed that. Um, that has been the truly special thing about building this vehicle. It was super challenging. I think the biggest thing is how do we fit all of that battery in this tiny vehicle? Because the width is, it's only 1.1 meters wide.
Yeah.
Yet we figured out how to power this thing for 8 to 10 hours on a single charge. So it's very much a massive packaging exercise, which our CTO, Zachary Omohundro, is just a phenomenal wizard of engineering capability. Putting it together for the first time was ugly. We worked through those issues, and now we've built a fleet that's much more manufacturable. And looking forward to our production units later this year, which will be very, very easy to put together. But the beginning is never as glamorous as you would imagine. There's a lot of oh, we messed this up, better fix that, and eventually it does come together. But the first builds are first builds for a reason.
Did the three of you know though? Did when you started the project, did you know it could be done? Just like not even a belief system, but from a technical standpoint, did you know it could be done?
Oh, absolutely. There was no doubt in our minds that it could be done, but how to optimize it and how to really maximize the things that the customers care about, that was the challenge. So our battery has steadily grown over the years in order to make sure that it can fulfill the majority of customer profiles with this particular tractor's use case. That's one of those things that we've learned more and more over time is that the battery had to get bigger and bigger.
Is it a swap out battery or as well as a rechargeable?
It is a fully swappable system. And actually, we've developed a swapping system that can be executed by a single person. And I believe his record is now 7 minutes on uneven ground, which is perfect for the farmer because they have the nurse trucks right now that do the refueling in about the same amount of time.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, Mark, and it's really fun to having again these having the part two so close together with the original episode that we did. And I hope, I mean, it stands to reason the next episode with Monarch has to be on a tractor. I think it's going to have to happen. So hopefully we can schedule that in.
We would love to have you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's maybe we coordinate it with an event in California or something. That's where you're based out of, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Livermore, California.
yeah, and it's so sort of what are the next? Just before we wrap up, what are the next stages? What are the next 3 years looking like for Monarch?
So really, this year is all about bringing our tractor to market and selling it to customers. So we're very much focused on getting those first production units out this year. I would say the team is absolutely laser focused on that goal, and we are just bent on achieving it. It's going to be a very, very exciting year from that standpoint. And over the next few years, we see ourselves growing into a pretty significant manufacturer here in North America, as well as expanding to Western Europe and Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, I don't just say this flippantly. I think I think that will come from everything I've seen already and just seeing well, you said laser focus, and you talk to one person on the team and they're like that. That's one thing. You start talking to multiple people and you start to see, oh, this is a company culture. So it's going to be very exciting to watch for myself and for our audience. So thank you for joining us for this part two. We really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your interest in Monarch Tractor. We're excited.
Okay, everyone. Yeah, I say this every now and then. I say this on an episode. If that doesn't interest you, then probably this might not be the right show for you. It's amazing what they're doing. Thank you very much to the Monarch team, and glad to have them for a part two. Please keep suggesting guests, everyone. Find people that maybe we can't think of everybody that should be on the show. So your suggestions are a big help. Subscribe, share our content. We really appreciate it and see you on the next episode. Thank you to our sponsors, of course, that make the show happen. We will see you on the next episode of Crownsman Egg.